welcome back. It's been a while since I got back from my cruise at the end of May. We're now in the middle of July, so I've had a few weeks to think about everything and think of what I want to put in this Q&A video. So hi, my name's Amy. I do Disney family vlogs. I'll link the last ones down below. And I've recently got back from a Norway 7-night P&O Norwegian Fjords cruise on Iona. We went to Stavanger, Olden, Hellesilt and Haugesund. Nearly forgot. It was brilliant. We had such a fantastic time. If you haven't seen the vlogs, I will link those so you can go and check out all the different days and the things that we got up to. But this video is a Q&A for the P&O cruise. So there are lots of different things that I'm going to talk about today. I got a notepad because, as you know, I overthink and I waffle. I'm gonna try and stick to it. I'm gonna break the video up in 3 different sections really: before the cruise, during the cruise, and then after the cruise. Let's get started on before the cruise. I booked the cruise for a company called cruise118.com, and I originally booked a smaller double cabin through them. Now what that meant, it was meant to be a double bed, no sofa, and a smaller size balcony from the description that was online. When I got all my details closer to the cruise, it was about 6 weeks before the cruise, I went in and checked some details off and realised I was assigned a single cabin, which is a single bed cabin with a half size balcony, and that wasn't what I had booked or what I thought I booked. I called up Cruise 118 and spoke to them about it, and they helped me to change the room to a standard cabin. Unfortunately, all the double cabins had been taken, which was a bit of a shame because that's what I had originally booked, but they did help me out to sort out the problem. I've just had a look back, and I'd originally been booked into a QZ cabin, which I believe was going to be a smaller double cabin, and then it turned out to not be that, and it was a single cabin, which wasn't the description that was online. There was a problem on the website. Anyway, so I was originally booked into a QZ cabin, which would have cost, for a single person, it would have been £1,400 for the 7 nights. That was meant to be £1,560 for a single person. I paid £1,400 for that. A little bit pricey. I was effectively paying for 2 people in one cabin, I felt. The inside cabins I think were around £600, £700 per person. I was pretty much paying for 2 people, but I had the problem with the cabin where I had been booked into the wrong cabin because the description online was incorrect. Cruise 118 did rectify that issue for me, which was fantastic. I ended up being put into a GF cabin grade, which is a standard balcony cabin. That was fine. I think I had to pay an extra £200, which wasn't ideal. Unfortunately, those were my kind of only options really. After I had changed the room and fixed the problems with Cruise 118, etc., which I've got to say, they were absolutely fantastic at sorting it all out. They did their best and I got a discount, etc., to change the room, because I was effectively upgrading, but not because it was something that I had chosen, it was because of a problem. A week later, after I had sorted all that out, I then got an email. I was booked a guaranteed on arrival cabin type, so I had no idea where I was going to be. And I had expressed my concerns. I didn't want to be on deck 8, I didn't want to be on the promenade deck. That was a big no-no for me. About a month before the cruise, I got an email from Cruise 118 and they had upgraded me again. I had 3 different rooms booked. I ended up in a GE balcony cabin, but that meant that I had a cabin assigned at that point, so I knew my cabin number, which you'd have seen in the vlogs. I did a cabin tour, etc., so go check those out. Now I'm glad that I ended up getting a cabin number early, because it meant I could look up online what that was like, and for me, an overthinker who worries about everything, that was kind of perfect. So while it wasn't ideal at the beginning, it worked out absolutely fine in the end. So I think I ended up paying about £1,600 in total for that, one person. For 2 people, it probably would have been the same, but I was on my own. Okay, so bear that in mind if you're a solo traveller. Unless you go in a single room, you are almost paying for 2 people, which is annoying, but that's that. The other thing we had booked before travel was car parking. Now my friend booked that, I didn't book that. And I think that was around £150-ish for the week with CPS car parking. You listen in the vlog, us using the car parking. So we booked that in advance. The other thing that we booked in advance was dining. Now, I don't know if any of you know, but P&O had a little bit of a glitch just around the time that we were due to do our dining bookings. So at the moment, dining bookings are available from midnight 2 weeks before your cruise. P&O just randomly opened up the dining bookings in the middle of the day about 2.5 weeks before, and it looked like they were testing a new page or something, but it meant that we could book our dining, which was unfair because people didn't know. You know, it is what it is. Everybody was scrambling to get dining. Now we managed to book the celebration night at the chef's table. We managed to book Sindhu. We managed to book the beach house and the Epicurean. We managed to book a fair few things. We were also able to book all of our entertainment as well. So that was all the shows in the theatres that we wanted to see. I think there were only 2 nights where we didn't book anything like that. That happened. Now that should have been 2 weeks before, but it was 2.5 weeks before. It was only a few days early, I suppose. The other things we booked before we went, and we booked these about 2.5 months before we went, were all of our excursions. We booked the Lone Lake and Kendall Glacier and the Lone Skylift add-on from Olden Adventure, and we booked that online. Now that was 1,415 krona for the Lone Lake and Kendall Glacier tour, and then it was 531.25 krona additional to do the Lone Skylift. Okay, so that's all in krona. And then we booked the Rib Fjord Safari for Gerenga Fjord with fjord guiding. Again, that was online, and that was for the Hellesilk port. That was 711.95 krona. And then the other excursion that we did, just so you know, all 3 of them, we did the train at Haugesund. Now we booked that at the port, we didn't book that in advance, and that was 320 krona per person, which equated to about 24 pounds per person to do the little train. But we booked that at the port. We had planned not to do anything and then thought, let's do the train. I've got everything written down because I forget everything. The other thing that I did before going on the cruise is look on YouTube videos, watch YouTube videos of the different things. Tried really hard not to watch too much about the ports because I wanted to see that with my own eyes rather than seeing it through somebody else's videos, etc. But I did watch quite a lot to get an idea about what I was going into, especially about the ship. I watched loads and loads of videos. The one thing I couldn't find was a full walkthrough of the ship. Everybody kind of did this is this room, this is this room. There was no video connecting all of those things together. You'll see that I've done a full walkthrough. It's quite a long video. You can watch it in fast forward if you want to, for example, but I'll link that down below as well if you want to watch my full walking tour of the video, which I did at 5 a.m. on the last day. And you'll see I got quite hot towards the end, but it was a bonus because it meant I had 2 breakfasts that day. I had a mini breakfast, went back to bed after I did the tour, got up and then had breakfast again. So it worked out well for me. I'm glad I did that, so anybody else who might be worrying about the ship, etc., can have a look. Now on the P&O website there is actually a PDF that has all of the decks of Iona and you can see where everything is. I just struggled to visualise that. You know, a map versus visuals is quite a difficult thing for me. Things I purchased and packed. Okay, you'd have seen my trip announcement video where I clearly overthought everything because I was thinking I'm going to have to pack for spring, autumn and winter. And I did. I did pack for those 3 seasons, and honestly, I really didn't need to. The ship itself was so warm that I didn't need to. When we were on shore, it was cooler and then it warmed up every single day. The weather forecast on the ship was wrong every single day. It was, I'd say, between 20 and 24 degrees, maybe. It was around that. But obviously when you're walking around in that, and you're, exerting yourself, it feels a lot warmer. It definitely wasn't cold. We did have a bit of rain, as you would have seen in the videos. We did get caught in the rain a couple of times. But honestly, it was absolutely fine. We didn't get drenched to the skin or anything horrific. And I didn't need like walking boots or anything like that. Trainers were perfectly adequate. I didn't take walking boots as well, I'm just going to say. I didn't have enough room for them. But I had taken like sturdier trainers and I really didn't need those. Some things that I did buy to take on the cruise specifically, I bought magnetic hooks. Now you'd have seen them in my room tour where I clipped them on the wall. The walls are metal in the cabins, and I use that to hang up my hats, gloves, a little bag with bits and pieces in, my little rucksack, Kate Spade rucksack bag I had, and other little bits and pieces that I was using all the time. Because I was editing whilst I was on board and downloading videos and stuff, the desk area was my like tech space. So I couldn't just dump all my rubbish for every day on there, and I didn't really want to put it all on the sofa. I wanted to sit on the sofa and use the sofa. That's why I took the hooks, and I would say they were brilliant. There was only one time where I put something too heavy on them and they went all the way down the wall. But people said if you hang it from the ceiling, that doesn't happen. But I can't reach the ceiling because I'm too short. I just switched them over. They do have hooks in the walls, like fixed hooks. So I just swapped stuff around when that happened. But they work really, really well. The other thing I took with me was water bottles. Now there is a water bottle filler on the ship machine in the atrium where you can fill up. It's just off deck 8, nearby where the pools are, like to walk out onto where the hot tubs and stuff are. There's a machine there. I took a big bottle, like a 30-ounce bottle, to use on the ship if we were out on deck or, chilling out, that type of thing. I took a smaller bottle that would fit in my bag because my 30-ounce didn't fit in my rucksack because I didn't check. I had the 30-ounce, I had a smaller one, which is probably 16-ounce-ish bottle. And then I also took like a plastic Starbucks tumbler as well. Now what I did, the water in the bathrooms was also drinkable. You didn't have to get it from the water fill-up machines. So every day I would make sure that in the morning I'd fill up my Starbucks tumbler, put that in the little mini fridge, and I'd fill up my big bottle and put that in the fridge and leave the lid off. So by the time, and I'd take the other water bottle that I'd filled up the night before away out on the trip with us. When I got back every day, I had cold water in my fridge, basically. I had a drink that I could just drink in my room, or if we were going to go out on deck, there was a drink there. And I just kept circulating, and every time one was empty, I'd refill it, put it in the fridge and take the other one out, basically, and keep swapping them around. The other thing I took tea bags. You'd have seen that in the vlog as well. I've got a particular taste for tea. T2 French Earl Grey tea is my favourite tea, so I took a load of tea bags. I didn't use that many, to be honest, so I probably could have just taken a handful, but I took those. I also took a big ceramic, like a travel cup, and it had a lid on it. That came in handy on the sea days where we went to Brody's. So we went to breakfast and then we went straight to Brody's, and I asked people in the restaurant in the breakfast, could you fill my cup up with tea? Because they were pouring the tea out. And bless them, they actually went and took my cup and made a fresh cup of tea with boiling hot water in it, rather than from their jug that was, barely hot. They were great. So I had a cup of tea. So that was really good. And because I had the lid on it, it meant that I wasn't worried about spilling it when I was walking around the ship and etc. So those were some little things that I took that I found that helped me with bits and pieces that I picked up from other vlogs, etc. The other thing as well, I had some packing cubes that I used for travel. Now when I put my stuff into the shelving unit, some things I just kept in the packing cubes because it meant that I could just pull the packing cube out onto the bed, get my things out, zip the cube back up and chuck it back in, rather than having to get everything out and, fish through it. I found that a bit easier, but I was on my own as well, so it was only my stuff. If I was sharing with somebody, that probably would have been more, I wouldn't have had enough space actually, I don't think. We'd have been a bit more squashed, we'd have needed more hangers for sure. But yeah, that was super helpful, having things in these little packing cubes as well. The other thing I took, now this wasn't something I bought, but something I took, I've got a little, like a mini Kate, you would have seen it in the vlog, mini Kate Spade rucksack, and it's got detachable straps on it. So you can have it as a rucksack, you can have it as an over the shoulder, you can have it as a crossbody, you can have it as a waist pack, you can effectively, or even take all the straps off and just use the little mini handle on top. It's a brilliant little bag, and it was just big enough for me to put my Osmo 3 in, my phone in, my room card, any other little bits I needed, basically. So that, I didn't think I would use it that much, but I used it. That was my main bag on board because it just was the perfect size. I didn't want to carry too much, but I needed something to keep my camera safe. That was what I used. So the other things that we took on board that I found super helpful were some little Robinson squeezy squash things. I think you would have seen them in shops. And I used those in my water bottles, but I also used them in the sit-down restaurants. When you ask for a glass of water, I just put a bit of that in it. Nobody batted an eyelid. They didn't care that you were doing that, because I don't really drink fizzy drinks or anything like that. A glass of squash, really. Those were brilliant. I'd highly recommend doing that. If you've got kids and stuff who don't like fizzy drinks, do that rather than getting the drinks packages, because drinks packages are very expensive. Even the non-alcoholic, the base refresher package, I think it's called, I never would have drunk enough to make that worthwhile at all. And throughout the whole trip, we only bought one drink on board. So you think of the money we saved by not doing that. I know it's not all about saving money and do what suits you as a family for your trip, etc. But for us, it was going to be wasted money buying a drinks package. If I wanted a drink, I would have just bought one, but I didn't really feel the need to. The other thing I bought on Amazon before we went were the clear luggage tag holders. I'll pop a picture in now of the ones I bought. So they're clear and they've got a metal ring on them, and you print off your luggage label, fold it up, pop it in and attach it to your case. I wasn't comfortable just printing it out and using sellotape to keep it on. I'm a worrier. I just thought it's going to get ripped off or I'm going to damage it, getting it in the car or something. So I bought their little plastic ones. They were super easy to use, to be honest. I think they're really good. I'm probably going to use them like inside my case to put my contact details in if my case ever goes missing. Those are the kind of things you just hook on the zip inside. I'll get loads of use out of them, but I bought those as well. On Iona, I thought P&O actually, UK. So when you go out of Southampton with P&O, they have changed the policy about what you can take on board with regards to drinks. They previously allowed people to take on, I think it was a litre of spirits and wine. About a week before we went, they changed that and they are only allowing people to take a litre of wine or champagne on. No spirits at all. Soft drinks were unlimited. So I took a big bottle of squash on board and my little squeezy squashes. Now, I don't drink alcohol, and other people on board were saying to me that they obviously couldn't bring alcohol on, but what they found was that the price list in the room for room service was only a couple of pounds more expensive than buying it in the supermarket. So I think do that. Now, any drinks you do buy through room service, alcohol for example, you must drink in your cabin. But to be honest, you can sit on your balcony and have a little drink, watch the sunset. If you're going at a time when the sun actually sets, because it barely set for us, but you can chill out on your balcony and have a few drinks if you want to do that, or buy the drinks packages. You can do that as well. But it may work out for you. Depends what you drink, I think. Because I don't drink alcohol, it's just not worth it for me. I also took on a load of snacks. Now, I probably overdid the snacks, to be honest. I was really unsure about what the food, etc., was going to be like on board. And because I got food sensitivities, and allergies, I was really worried about that. So I took on little breakfast cereal bars. I took on packs of crisps. I took some Pringles. I took a bag of sweets. I think I had some birthday cake. It was my birthday when we went on board. So I had some birthday cake as well. Now I had all sorts. I didn't need all of that. Really didn't. The food was great. So that's everything before the cruise. So now I'm going to talk about the cruise itself. During the cruise, getting on board and like the process of arriving at the port, we literally just pulled into the CPS car parking, run of cars. You had to wait a little bit, but it wasn't long. It was like 15 minutes max. It was quite a big queue. You pull in, they take a photo of your car, etc. They go like all around your car, and then they give you a slip and they put the keys, attach a slip to your keys. You get all your stuff out of the car, and then somebody drives your car away into their car park. Now I know that they move it from that car park to another car park and then bring it back because of the number of miles. I think I had 5 miles extra put on my car. I did keep tabs on it because you hear horror stories. So it didn't go too far and then came back. So a couple of miles away, wherever their main car park is. When you unload all your luggage, etc., you literally walk across the road. If you've got lots of luggage, get a trolley, or you can't manage to push them, get a trolley. There are porters there who can help you as well. They will help you wheel your stuff over. But it was literally like crossing a single road. So we just wheeled our cases over, and then depending on what deck you're on, so I was on deck 10, Laura was on deck 11, we had different drop-off points for our luggage, clearly signposted. You honestly can't go wrong. And you hand over your cases to these people and they put them in the queue, and then that goes on a conveyor belt. Obviously it gets scanned, etc., and then goes off to the ship. Now my luggage arrived super quick. In fact, I remember when I gave them my luggage, they loaded it straight onto the conveyor belt rather than putting it in the queue, but they didn't with Laura's. So I got my luggage within an hour of being on the ship. Laura got her last case 2 minutes before we were leaving for dinner. If you want to wear something specific for dinner on that very first evening, put it in your hand luggage, just in case your cases don't make it in time for your dining reservation if you've got one, or for when you want to go and have dinner. Don't leave yourself without everything. I know some people want to get on board, get changed, go in the pools, etc. Put all that in your hand luggage. Have a little wheelie suitcase that you can take on as hand luggage. Now we were boarding, I think my boarding was at 1:45 and Laura's was at 1:15. Now when we got there, they just allowed us both to go through at the same time because there was nobody queuing in the terminal at all, which was fantastic. We literally just went straight into the terminal. You go up some escalators, obviously after you drop your luggage off, go straight up the escalators to this big check-in area. There was a little tiny queue, maybe 7 or 8 people in the queue, but there were a considerable number of check-in staff, like desks. We were done and it literally checked in within 5 minutes, I'd say. We were through. Then you're directed to, they give you a piece of paper and they stamp like boarding ready. And then you go to the security channel where you put, like airport security, where you put your hand luggage, etc. Sometimes you take your shoes off, sometimes not. They'll tell you if they want you to do that. And then you walk through a metal detector, you pick up your stuff, same as an airport, but not as busy, not as stressful. No, that bit in an airport makes me sweat. I hate it. Getting on the cruise was like, oh, was that it? It was super simple. You just walk up the bridge, literally the bridge, to get on board. I'm just going to turn some lights on. Sorry if the previous bit of the video was dark. I completely forgot to turn the lights on and it's starting to get dark outside because it's 9:30 at night. Apologies. Hopefully it looks fine. But yeah, you walk on the ship and because we were like 1:30, I think it was, it was probably near 1:45 by the time we got on the ship, and walked through, and they scan your card when you got on the ship. Your card has a picture of you linked to it and all your passport details. And then we were on board and we had to go to our muster station, which was the Headliners Theatre. Me and Laura had the same muster station. We literally walked onto the ship and walked left 2 steps and we were at the Headliners Theatre. So they just scan your card and it obviously ticks you off their list that you've been to the muster station, so you know where it is. We were free to go and do what we wanted from that point onwards. After the muster station, they said the cabin's ready. So we decided to just go to our cabin. So off we went, we both separated. Laura went to hers, etc. I went to mine, and we sorted out our cabins. I already had 1 case when I got there, and I'd unpacked 1 case, opened the door, and my second case was there because, as you know, I took 2 cases and my mini hand luggage case and my rucksack, because I packed too much. But I'd unpacked, etc. Now Laura's second case didn't arrive till 5 to 6. If your cases don't arrive, it's probably because there's something in them or there's an issue with your case. If that's the case, go to reception and they'll tell you what you need to do to go and get your case. The likelihood of your case getting left behind on the port deck, that's probably never going to happen, because it was so quick how they did things, and they obviously have to get on and off all of this stuff, not only people's luggage, but all of the food and things like that for the cruise. They know what they're doing. So trust the process. I didn't trust the process at all, but now I've done it, I trust the process. One thing to note, the ship itself, I'm a really cold person. I'm always cold. It's only if it's absolutely baking do I get too hot. And honestly, I felt that the ship was a good 23 degrees constantly. Even when we were in Norway and it was cooler outside, like 17 degrees, the ship still felt like 23. My cabin, obviously I could, adjust the air conditioning in my cabin. And I think I got that about right by the last day, typically. But the ship was very warm. There were people coming on board who had like jackets and stuff on, and they were literally, as they got to the lifts, when they got on board, were just taking the layers off because they were sweating. It was that warm on board. I wore summer dresses or shorts and t-shirt in the day if we were on board in the day. I didn't wear like trousers, jeans, or any of those types of things. I think I wore jeans on the first night, but we were in Southampton still. Apart from that, I didn't. It was too hot. It was far too warm. I mean, I'm not going to complain. It was lovely. Lovely being nice and warm. But I probably would not have packed as many pairs of trousers, like evening trousers, as I had done if I had known that. Summer dresses were fine. During the day, etc., clothes-wise, you do need layers. We often had trousers. I had like fleecy fitness leggings type things which I wore with, and either wore a t-shirt, a jumper, then a jacket on top of that if I needed to, so I could undo layers. Most of the time we were just in trousers and a t-shirt. It was that warm. Bear that in mind. Well, you need sunglasses, you need sunscreen. My poor forehead and my nose, as you would have seen, got more and more burnt. I had sunscreen on. I wasn't not using sunscreen. My poor forehead was so red by the time I got home. Look after your skin. Always wear sunscreen, even in Norway. Hats, etc. You're going to need it like you're on a summer holiday, which unfortunately adds to the weight of your case. Take your swimwear as well. You want to go swimming on board, you want to go in the hot tub, do all of those things. Almost treat it like a summer holiday and an autumn holiday. Unless you're going at the beginning of the season when it's really cold, then you need to treat it like a winter holiday as well. That's my advice for the types of clothes, etc. you need to wear. In the cabin itself, I had a lot of tech with me. I had my laptop, all my camera bits that I needed to charge, etc. Now by the kettle, the kettle was a 2-pin, like American kettle plug, and then there were 2 English plug sockets. So I was using those to plug in all my stuff to charge. There was also a plug socket by the side of the bed, only on one side of the bed, and there was also under the lights there was a USB port on the bottom of the 2 lights by either side of the bed, and I only tried one of them. And what I did were at night, when I was obviously in the room, you're not supposed to charge anything when you're out of the room for fire risk reasons. I basically was charging everything when I was in the room from the 2 by the kettle, and then the 1 by the bed I used during the night to charge up my phone, and then in the morning I would charge my watch up. Now my watch, I didn't want it having that USB port on the bottom of the light is a bit of a pain because everything just dangles down. So what I did was just hooked my watch strap round the thin bar that's used for like the headboard padding. So, and then I put my watch charger on the back of, I clipped it onto the back of my watch. So it wasn't just dangling down and it was secure onto the bar. That was something I just figured out. But tip, if you've got a watch that you need to charge, maybe do that. And then you're not worrying about it, just, you know what I mean. Those were the things I did with my tech. I took, there was a hairdryer on board. I've got quite thin, but I've got long hair. So my hair's really fine and can be brittle and dry. So I didn't want to be using their hair dryer and it like wrecking my hair more than it already is. It's not in great condition anyway. So I took my little Dyson Airwrap with the hairdryer attachment and used that, and that was brilliant. I didn't have any problems with plugging that in, etc. It's the same UK voltage as all your UK stuff. You can't take irons or steamers or things like that on board for obvious reasons because they're fire risks. There are irons available in the laundry rooms if you need to iron, say you've taken a shirt for celebration night or something like that, you can go and iron your clothes, or a dress has got crumpled in your suitcase. I also took a crease release spray that I got. I'll put a picture of that in now. And I used that, a couple of things, just sprayed it down and then like you'd smooth it out. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it did get some of the chunkier creases out from where I'd packed some of my dresses. So at the entertainment on board, every day on board, you get a Horizon magazine. I'll put a picture in of one of the example ones now. You can see in this picture that there are loads of things going on each day. Lots and lots and lots of things. Take a pen and highlight the things that you want to do. But you notice there's lots of evening entertainment. Now we had booked, when the dining became available, we had also managed to book our shows for the evenings. So we had booked pretty much every night in the Headliners Theatre, and you'll see that we'd also booked our food options, our restaurants around 6, 6:15, but it meant that we were really cutting it fine to get to the 8:30 Headliners shows every single evening. I think it was 8:30 or it was 8 o'clock. But we were rushing to get there every single day. We were going straight from food straight to the theatre, which was a bit much. Now I would probably maybe switch it around, go to the Headliners Theatre first and then go for a later dinner, or have an earlier dinner, or I'd work it in some other way, or not go to the Headliners Theatre every single day like we did. We saw every show. We didn't go on 2 days because there was a repeat of one show, and also there was another show that I can't remember what it was. There was another show which we weren't interested in, but we went to the Headliners Theatre a lot. Now we really enjoyed the shows as well, and in the vlog you'll see that I say after the first show we saw was Festival, and that was amazing, and that set the bar for what I was expecting on every single night. So the next night we had something different and it just didn't hit the mark, and I came to realise I'm expecting too much from these short shows. You kind of need to look at them as a kind of small loose storyline, ties together songs and dancing, etc. into the show. It's not a full Broadway production. I know on some cruise ships you have amazing productions, and I'd love to go on one of those and see all of that, but the P&O one didn't have that, and the shows weren't long enough to be able to do that. But we really enjoyed those shows that we did see. They all had really good points and really fun aspects to them. I would definitely go and see them again. We also saw The Comedian. He was funny. It wasn't my kind of humour though. I struggled with some of the things he joked about, some of the content I didn't think was appropriate for a family audience. Everybody seemed to like it. It just wasn't really for me. We stayed and watched the whole thing, and you know, it was fine, but I wouldn't probably go and see him again. I think it was Manuel Martinez we saw. Then we had the Liss Pink tribute show, and in the video I said that the first song that she did, I was a bit unsure that this was going to be any good, but then the second song, etc., she nailed it and she was really, really good. So give the shows and the performances, etc., a chance. I also caught a couple of the shows in the Sky Dome as well, so I've put some footage of the aerial one where they're all dressed up like birds, etc. and those were okay, and I think they're more for younger families, younger children, etc., to, you know, for them to watch. They were good, but I'm glad we saw the stuff in the Headliners Theatre. But there was loads and loads of entertainment going on across the whole ship, pretty much all the time as well. There was always something to do. We did quizzes. Laura did some map making, crafting. She went to the cinema a few times. She did something, you know, all the time whilst we were on board. I wanted to relax a bit and do a bit of editing and things like that, so there were times where we did different things, and the ship can totally do that. You can split up, go and do the things that you want to do, and then meet up again later or in the evening, or, you know, whenever you want. There is that much to do that it can suit everybody. It really can. If you want to do nothing, do nothing. If you want to do everything, go and, you know, fill your boots, do as much as you want. When we were in the ports, we had the excursions that we had booked and we went to those. The Olden Adventures one in Olden, they literally pick you up as you got off the ship. You got off the ship and there was the little port, and they had some booths. You went to the booths and they told you which coach you needed to be on, so then you went and queued by the coach with your ticket, and that was fine, and you got on board and off you went, etc. Hellesilt, when we went on the rib boat ride, we had to get off the ship. There were clear instructions on our booking form that you went off the ship, you went left, and you basically walked round the little, it was the ford, there was a little like like a river, and you just walked over the bridge, round to the left, and then where the little dock is, where the rib boats are. Now, honestly, you couldn't really miss it. There were, they had a big marquee thing up, and they were doing tours, rib boat tours all day. So that's where we went. In Haugesund, when we went on the land train, that was again, as you got off the ship, you literally got off, walked out of the secure area, and there were loads of booths set up for all the different trips and coaches and land train, the things that you can do. So we just picked and said, let's go on the land train, but you'll see all that in the vlog, how we just on a whim decided to do that. The only port that we didn't do anything organised was Stavanger, the first port, and that's because we knew that we just wanted to walk around and see everything. So we went to, I think it's pronounced Gamley or Gamel, I'm butchering that, apologies, where the historic white houses, the wooden white houses were. We walked around that for a bit, and then we walked into Stavanger centre and walked around the shops and things like that, and then walked back. So we had a really relaxed day. But every single port there was something to do. You could do nothing, just chill out, or you could, go on all sorts of excursions. In Hellesylt, there were these little electric Renault Zippy or Zappy cars. They looked amazing, 2 people, one in front of the other in this little electric car, and off you went on a little adventure. They look really good. I think that's probably something if I went back, that's probably something I might do. So that's pretty much everything for on board. Now, talk about after. Now, when we got off the ship, getting off the ship was incredibly easy, and I can understand why some people will self-disembark and take their luggage with them, because you have to have your luggage out by the time you go to bed, basically the night before disembarkation, for them to be able to offload your suitcases. I was a bit worried about that process, and I had to put Apple AirTags in my suitcase, and I'm glad I did, because when we got off the ship, you get off the ship the same way that you get on. You walk through the bridge, and then you end up in this it's almost like a warehouse type space. And it has loads and loads of rows of luggage, and they're all in rows for the deck number that you were on. So I was on deck 10. I knew that I needed to go to deck 10 to get my suitcase. There were trolleys available as well, you would have seen in the vlog. And I got to my row, and one of my suitcases was there, and the other one was nowhere to be seen. So I got my phone out, started looking for my Apple AirTag, and it was in the next row along. So either it got accidentally pushed over, or somebody got it muddled up, I don't know, but my suitcase had moved. So having the Apple AirTag in my suitcase stopped me from worrying, basically. I could literally just use my phone and figure out where the suitcase had gone. Luckily, it hadn't gone very far at all. Then you go through customs, because you are coming back into the UK, so you need to go through customs. That was just simple, it's just a walk through, a bit like in an airport, you walk through the space, and then you're back outside again where you were when you came in, and you just for CPS car parking, we literally walked back across the road, and there's a little booth, and you give them your slip for your car keys. They give you your car keys. It tells you on the slip what row number your car is in, and then you just walk down the road and find your car. It was incredibly easy, but I understand why some people take their suitcases and walk off. Somebody in one of my comments said that they were off by, I think it was 7:30, and when you've got a 4-hour car journey ahead of you, getting off early means you can be back home by lunchtime, which, if you want to do that, it's great. It means you have to have breakfast super early in the morning though, and that was the one thing that me and Laura weren't so looking forward to. The other thing with disembarkation as well, you get assigned, the last night on your stay, you get a sheet which tells you about your disembarkation time, and it tells you about all of your onboard spending. I'll put a picture in now of what I had, and you can see my disembarkation time. Laura's was an hour before mine. Now, we were travelling home together, etc. Laura couldn't really wait out in the, in the terminal for an hour. That wasn't particularly fair. So we did speak to the people in reception, and they said, just go to either one of the two. It's absolutely fine because there's only one of you. It's not going to be a big deal. Now, if you were a bigger party, I don't know whether that would be okay or not. You'd need to speak to them and tell them what you want to do. But that's what we did, and we were off and on our way really, really quickly. Things that I wish I had known about before going on board. I worried about the food, because I've got allergies and food sensitivities. Honestly, there was so much choice. You'll see in the vlogs, I also ate stuff that I shouldn't have eaten for you, really. And that food was lovely. So much choice on board, etc. I needn't have worried about what there was going to be food-wise. I'm going to do a whole vlog just about the food. Keep an eye out for that as well, because I tried to experience as much of it as I possibly could. I wish I had known about the options with food, because I needn't have worried at all. There was something for every dietary need possible. The other thing, I wish I'd known it was so warm on the ship. I wouldn't have had to take so many clothes. That's not something you would necessarily know in advance though. And I wish I had thought about my bottles, because my bottle didn't fit in my rucksack, etc. I wish I'd just taken less stuff. I took so much stuff. I really didn't need to at all. I had options. I probably had 3 different options for every single day. I did not need that. But when it's your first time going on a cruise, you just don't know these things. Other things I wish I had known. When you cruise into Oldham, everybody says, get up early, go and see the cruising, etc., because it's beautiful. They're not lying. It is absolutely spectacular, but quite a number of people get up super early. While that's not a problem, everybody seemed to go to the very front of the ship. On the highest deck at the front of the ship, they have these massive glass screens, and they go up and there's a little tiny gap and then they come over. They're really, really tall. And you'll see from my vlog, I had very little footage from the front of the ship, because that glass screen just glared back everything. So everything just had a reflection of me in it. Don't do that. Don't go to the very front of the ship. Go to the side, maybe cross over to the other side, near the front, where the barriers are normal height and you could take a photo or a video above the barrier. Don't stand where everybody was stood or looking out the front. If you're taking photos and videos, go to the sides or go to the rear of the ship. Those areas, and the rear of the ship is so beautiful when you've got like the wake behind you as well. You're going to get much, much better imagery from, you know, for your memories, etc. rather than, you know, I was really cross because I spent 20 minutes probably filming stuff at the front of the ship, and then when I watched it back, it was unusable. Honestly, it was that bad because everything was just shining back at me. So don't do that. Don't waste your time doing that. Go and have a look, and you'll see everybody there. Go to the side, but they're not lying about getting up early. I think I got up just after. I think I got up about 5:30 and I was out on deck by about 6, just having a wander around. Now, I'm going to do a bloopers video because there are so many funny things that happened on this trip that we did. So I'm going to do a bloopers video, but you'll see in that bloopers video that I tried to film as soon as I got out on deck. And honestly, it was so spectacular that it made me cry. And I don't I'm welling up thinking about it. It was just like, wow. Now, I'd already seen it from my balcony at that point as well. So anybody in an inside cabin and was coming out onto the deck to see the mountains, it was literally like stepping into a postcard. It was spectacular, took my breath away, and it made me really emotional in that moment to think, wow, I'm here, I'm seeing this with my own eyes. You know, and Norway was a bucket list country for me to go and see as well. So it just ticked all the boxes for me. But I'll put that in the bloopers video because I couldn't even speak. Other things that I wish I'd known, you'll see in the vlog that we didn't have a great experience on the Lone Skylift because they oversold the tickets. That happened weeks before we'd gone on, and we'd been told that's all sorted out. They only sell the number of tickets that they actually have capacity to take, but yet we were still stuck in an hour and a half queue to get back down. So in reality, we spent more time queuing to get up and get back down than we actually spent there. However, if I had the choice between doing a glacier tour or going up the Skylift, I would still choose to go up the Skylift because it's something that you just can't do somewhere else. The Skylift was amazing. Take some binoculars with you, top tip. Take binoculars, you can go and, you can look and see all the glaciers that are around you. There's that big glass bit that I showed, and it's got all the lines of all the mountains and the names and everything there, so you can see all of that. Take your binoculars, look at everything. You'll be able to see all the glaciers. You can see the Lone Lake and the Kendall Glacier that we went and saw on the boat trip. You can see the Brixton Glacier in the distance. There are so many different things that you can see up there that I would recommend doing that. Also, there was still snow on the ground, and you will see in the video there was also the ice cave. However, the week before it was 28 degrees up there, so it had melted and they weren't allowing anybody to go inside. But if you're there when it's a bit colder, you know, they have a full ice cave that you can go. It's like a little house and stuff. You can go and see that. There's also a restaurant up there. We didn't even get a chance to go in the restaurant because the queue was so massive. We were really concerned about getting back down. Did ruin our experience. That's lone skylift. They shouldn't have allowed that to happen. They should not have sold more tickets. You know, they put people in jeopardy of missing their cruises and getting back. They were talking to people, the cruise people, to try and figure out, to make sure people weren't missing their cruises. I'm glad that they did that, but it was their own doing, this allowing lots and lots of people to continue to buy tickets. They shouldn't do that. You should be able to buy a ticket for a time slot to get on the skylift, you know, an hour time slot or an hour and a half, whatever, and do it that way, rather than allowing everybody to just turn up whenever they like. It was a bit of a shambles. They need to make that process better, and I hope that they do. However, the experience, the views, everything up there, I absolutely loved and would 100% recommend it. Just keep an eye on the queues and be aware of that as well. So we didn't book any of our excursions through P&O, and you'll see on the P&O pricing, they are very expensive. And I've told you the prices of the things we booked. So you can see there is quite a difference between the pricing. That's why we decided not to book with P&O. We didn't have a single problem other than, you know, the lone skylift issue. Everything else was absolutely fine. We had a fantastic holiday, and honestly, I would recommend anybody to go on the Norway cruise. Go to Norway. It doesn't have to be a cruise. Go and see the fjords. They are absolutely spectacular. It was, I was going to say once in a lifetime holiday. I don't think it was, because I think I'll probably go again, to be honest. It was a bucket list item for me, absolutely. I want to go back when it's colder. I want to go back. I want to go further north next time, maybe into the actual Arctic Circle. I'd love to go to Alaska and do that as a cruise. That would be amazing. As you can see, I've got lots of plans in my head, and there are lots of things coming up. I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you've watched all of the vlog series. I really appreciate all of that. If you can like, subscribe, all of the good stuff, and follow along. There are many more adventures coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching.